Hello everyone, I am Kate Angela Plaza, and this is my topic that talks about housing the third world urban poor. So, as we know, having a good and affordable place or house to live is very important for people well-being. But in many cities in the third world, which are less wealthy, a lot of people live in very basic and simple shelter compared to developed countries. But first, here is the objectives. To identify and discuss the housing condition that third world urban poor population face, to investigate existing house policies and initiatives aimed at improving the living condition of urban poor and assist their effectiveness, analyze the challenges and opportunities presented by rapid urbanization in third world countries. Okay, so third world is developing countries that were situated in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and that area have high in poverty, lack of resources, and unstable financial stability. And there is difference in housing quality between high and low income countries. So in many cities in less wealthy parts of the world, a lot of people don't have access to affordable house. So they end up living in cheaper and makeshift places like slums, squatter, and pavements. So this problem is made worse by growing population. That's why in this chapter we will discuss about where these poor urban people find their home, and we will look at the different types of housing options. Okay, as what we see in the map, this is about urban population living in slums. So as what we see in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, there's a lot of living in slums, especially here, so my Africa regions, right? So what is the importance of urban geography in this context? So urban geography is indispensable for addressing the complex and multifaceted challenges of housing the third world urban poor. So it provides the spatial context necessary for informed decision making, equitable urban development, and the improvement of living condition for this vulnerable population. And here is the historical evolution of urban areas in the third world. So see, from past to present urban evolution. And let's go to our prior topic, which is about housing. Okay, so when it comes to providing housing for poor people in the third world cities, there are two main types: the conventional and the non-conventional housing. So non-conventional housing is a kind of housing that forms of usual rules and methods of construction. So it is built by construction companies, and this is accepted by the middle classes, and mas marami tayong makikita na conventional housing sa mga developed countries. And next is non-conventional housing. So this type of housing is quite different. It doesn't follow the usual rules and often against the law in place. So it's typically built by individual coming from family, sa mga papaguro, sa kanilang mga anak. And may isa pang category which is called hybrid housing. They break fewer laws than non-conventional housing, so making them more socially and politically acceptable. So next is the fourth other types of housing in third world cities. We have public housing, private housing, squatter settlements, and slums. Okay, so public housing, it is built by government for people who could not afford it. So many of these government-built house were not well liked by people. Dahil sabi pa nila, they're often small and poorly designed and poorly maintained. The cost also was also high. Sabi pa nila, pabahay nga sa gobyerno pero malaki pa rin ang cost. So, people are not choosing it na naman. Then, next is private housing. So, private housing, most of houses are built by private companies. So, but they are often too expensive for poor people. Kulang pa nga ang pera, pangkain, pupunta nga ba ang mga mahihirap sa private housing? So, hindi. And the example of private housing, Camellia Homes, Anika Homes, Brea Homes, that's the private housing here in Philippines. Next is squatter settlements. So these are places where people live without legal permission. So sometimes people occupy land or buildings illegally, which can also lead to problems with the authorities nga. Kaya makikita natin sa news, lalo na sa Manila, maraming mga squatter settlements ay nagkakagulo dahil papawala silang gobyerno tapos sila ay hindi, so may force na nangyayari. So in Philippines also, this is called barong-barong. So dito sa Pilipinas, marami tayong makikita ng mga squatter settlements sa Metro Cebu, Metro Manila, and Metro Davao. Next is slums. So this is informal, illegal housing. Slums are unsafe and unhealthy home. Overcrowded homes na siya, maraming mga bahay, and they have limited or no access to basic services like water, toilets, electricity, and transportation. So, why are there slums in Philippines? Kasi sabi pa daw ng mga tao, mas inuuna ng gobyerno ang mga infrastructure building, mga malalaking mga building, kaysa bigyan sila ng pabahay. So, slums form and grow in different parts of the world for many different reasons. So, some include rapid rural to urban migration, economic stagnation and depression, highly unemployment, poverty, natural disaster, and poor planning. And we have sub-markets. Okay. So, within any city, there is a number of different sub-markets to satisfy the needs and financial abilities of different populations. So, and of course, housing decisions are based on cost, size, quality, and location. So, the rented room in subdivided inner-city housing, this affordable rental housing option for low-income individuals and families. Next is rented room in custom-built tenements. It is government-built or government-approved tenements designed specifically for low-income groups. Next is rented room or bed and boarding, often most in evidence near railway station or bus station. Okay, the types of rental housing used by lower income groups in many third world cities. First is rooming houses, pensions, employer housing. So this rooming houses is multi-tenant house where 4 or more people rent rooms and share kitchen or washroom. Next is pension, a type of guest house or boarding house. So pensions are commonly used by newly arrived migrants or single individual working in a city. So next is employer housing. So this quality of housing is usually very poor with several people. Crowded siya, and rule often prevent families living there. So workers' families have to live away. So mga workers lang talaga ang naninirahan dito. And here is some examples of rental houses in China. Tingnan nyo gaano ka small ang space, gaano kahirap dito maninirahan. So, what are the factors why low-income individuals choose to stay here? So, some factors include housing availability, economic opportunities and employment, family connections, affordability, of course, and transportation costs. And of course, low cost of living. So, tenants more likely to seek neighborhood with a low cost of living. So, expenses of living in particular area and are key consideration for them. Also, in some situation where people pay rent for a place to live, there are also individuals referred to as sharers or free tenants. And there are also possessor occupiers. So these sharers or free rent tenants are live with the owner or main tenant. So instead of paying rent in cash, they contribute by doing life household. So yung mga tumutulong sila sa mga gawaing pangbahay para makatipid. So in Mexico, it was observed when newcomers arrive in cities, they usually did not immediately buy a home. They gradually move toward renting and eventually owning homes. So same as also in Nigeria. So for this, they lower their expenses ba. Then possessor occupiers. So in third world cities, a significant portion of the population live in home that they essentially possess and live in, but they have not legal ownership of this home. So this is against the law. So some example of it, squatter settlements. So squatter settlements. So why there is squatter settlements? So since they cannot afford the cheapest legal house or apartment, most citizens have no choice but to build, buy, or rent an illegal dwelling. In most third world cities, 70 to 95% of all new housing is built illegally, and it is common for 2/3 of the population to occupy houses and neighborhoods developed in this way. So there are two main ways that families become resident of this informal settlement, which is land inventions and infiltration. So what is land inventions? So it means illegal occupying of land or any settlements of people and land without the owner of the land or without any right gani to settle or to occupy such land. Then infiltration in Asian and of African urban areas, a slower process of squatting in common. Example of it, families may start by using a piece of unused land. Dito pa sa atin, di ba mga may instances na may lupa na walang tao or hindi ginagamit. Tapos sabihin nila, pwede bang magtanim dito? Tinatamnan ng mga tao, ng mga gulay ba dyan? Then after it, you observe, may bahay ng nakatindig. Tapos hindi naman sa kanya. So that is the example of infiltration. Slums of hope and slumps of despair. So these ideas are about how people in squatter communities face different challenges and opportunities and how their living conditions change over time. Some have hope and some control while other faces despair and limitation. Slums of hope. So it refers to informal settlements or urban area where residents may face challenging living conditions, such as inadequate housing, limited access to clean water and sanitation, and may have low income levels. However, there is a sense of optimism and potential for improvement in these areas. So residents in Slum of Hope may actively work towards improving their living condition. Kahit na naninirahan sila sa slums, they improve their living. So, like there are maybe community organization, small-scale industries, or community spirit. Kahit na sa slums sila naninirahan, mahirap ang living condition nila, pero there's hope, masaya pa rin sila, di ba? And second is slums of despair. So, this extreme poverty, living condition, lack of basic services and sense of hopelessness among its residents. So, there are maybe little no infrastructure development or opportunities for residents to escape poverty. So, meron ding social issues like crime and drug abuse dito na areas. Sa like Tondo, di ba? Makikita natin sa telebisyon ang gulo-gulo ng buhay ng Tondo. Maraming away, maraming krimen na nangyayari. So, that's the example of slums of despair. And did you know that illegal land market is common in third world? Since poor people in third world or developing countries often can't buy land through legal means, so they turn to illegal or informal land markets to get a place to live. So this illegal land market is proving them with affordable land where they can build houses without dealing with lot of paperwork. But many of this housing lot don't have a basic services like water, electricity, and don't have legal ownership rights. Some of the same people involved din pa rin ang mga legal land markets pala ang mga property developers, politician, and government workers. Kaya ang iba, binili ko man itong lupa. Sabi, di ba, may mga pulis pumunta dyan kasi ipahawa sila. Tapos, sabihin ng authorities or police, "Ma'am, this is not yours." Then, sasabihin ng mga tao na binili namin itong lupa. But, fortunately, that land pala is informal land. And how government deals with illegal settlements. So, government deals with illegal settlements varies from harsh measurements to level of tolerance or even support. So, the way they treat the settlements often depends on how the land was acquired. Right now, some urban analysis see that ang mga tao na naninirahan sa mga informal land are parte na ng or contributors na sa city. Sa noon, tingin nila sa mga informal settlements is disconnected from the city. So, how government responds to the housing problems. So, eviction and land sharing. So, government often engage in eviction drives to clear these settlements for various reasons such as urban development, infrastructure project, or land speculation. Eviction on land lead to homelessness and displacement of vulnerable population. Government response may vary, but some efforts may include providing alternative housing. So, binibigyan sila ng housing. Though malayo man, kaya nga ang iba, hindi sila pumupunta dun sa mga binibigay ng gobyerno kasi malayo daw. Okay na sa kanila kahit daw mahirap, at least duol sa trabaho, no? So, we don't know bakit ganyan ang kanilang mga mindset, and we cannot judge them naman. And second is land sharing. So, this is a way to improve land where people are living without permission. It involves making the existing home better and giving these people a new home in a proper neighborhood. So, like through sharing the government help make the settlements legal and providing proper documentation or land titles to informal settlers. So, may mga ibang informal land, binibigyan sila mga settlers, binibigyan sila ng mga land titles habang hindi pa ginagamit ang land na yan sa gobyerno. But kung time na gagamitin ng gobyerno ang land na yan, though you have a land titles, wala kang magagawa. Papaalisin ka nila kung gagamitin na yan ng gobyerno. And here is the innovative responses. The aided self-help, site and services came, incremental development. So aided self-help, a strategy where external organization agencies provide support and resources to individuals, communities in developing countries to help them improve their own living condition and address various challenges they face. Second is site services came. So, ay example pala ng aided self-help is community-based coastal resource management dito sa Pilipinas. The CBCRM, they look like you are living in sa may dagat. So, they work with coastal communities to empower them to manage the marine resources. And second is site and services camps. In the third world cities, these are strategies aimed at improving the living condition of residents in informal settlements by providing the legal land tenure, basic infrastructure, and involving them in the development processes. Example, community sa Pilipinas pa rin ito, sa Manila, Community Mortgage Program, the CMP. It was established to address the issues of informal settlements and provide security of land tenure to residents of these settlements. So, by the help of CMP, informal settlers can apply loan from the NHA, National Housing Authority, to purchase the land they are occupying. And lastly is the incremental development. So, example of a gradual and step-by-step approach to improve various aspects of a nation, social and economic and political conditions. So, example here in the Philippines is the Kalahi CIDSS, Kapit Bisig Laban sa Kahirapan, Comprehensive and Integrated Delivery of Social Services. So, this Kalahi, CIDSS, Kalahi, this is the community-driven, this is all about the community-driven development programs that aims to reduce poverty and empowering communities through participatory decision making. So include sa mga project ang infrastructure, health, education, livelihood, and this Kalahi is a partnership with local government units. So I'm done discussing about the housing on third world. So let's talk about the urbanization and urban growth in the third world. So the process of urbanization is more advanced in industrialized countries than less developed countries. So the rate of urban growth in cities in developing countries is higher than developed countries. This rapid urbanization possesses challenges and opportunities for these cities. So the driving factors behind urbanization in these third world countries: modernization, economic progress, and flight from rural to urban. And here is the global urban growth in developing countries. So Africa, more than 90% of global urban growth is taking place in developing countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. These regions are adding 70 million new residents to urban areas every year. And Asia is experiencing a major urban growth with cities growing at unprecedented rate. Latin America, urbanization is among the most significant trends in the region, with millions of people moving to cities in search for opportunities. So this is what you see. This is the projected urban growth in year 2050. So in Nigeria, there will be 189 million urban dwellers. China, 255 million urban dwellers. And in India, there will be 416 million urban dwellers. As we know, China is the largest population in the world, followed by India. So what are the reasons for the population growth in India? Of course, the high birth rate and lower death rates. Manila, Philippines. So this is my example on the urban area, Manila, Philippines. Known as Pearl of the Orient. So Manila has experienced a significant population growth due to natural increase and rural to urban migration. So the concentration of economic opportunities, education, and healthcare facilities that city has attracted people from rural areas. That's why maraming pumupunta sa Manila. Manila nga is full of ethnic group. Doon mo makikita ang lahat kalahatang etniko sa Pilipinas. So Manila City, the capital of the Philippines, has experienced a remarkable transformation over the years from a small settlement during the Spanish colonial era to a bustling metropolis today. So Manila urbanization reflects its history and diverse culture heritage. Concentric zone theory. This is proposed by Borges. This is a model of urban development based on idea that cities grow outward from a central core in a series of concentric rings or zones. So the Central Business District or CBD is at the center, surrounded by series of zones characterized by different land uses and socio-economic. This theory suggests that the city expands in predictable radial pattern. So as what you see here in the center, this is Central Business District. It has highest and land value. Then the violet one, the second zone, the zone of transition. So mixed residential and commercial zone. Third one is the zone of independent worker homes. So single family tenement na diri. Then fourth one, second to the last, is a single family tenement with yards. So it is better residential area. And the last one, this neon green, atan siya. So commuter zone. This people there are far away from city, but usually they have jobs that are close to the city. So here is the urban land use of Metro Manila. So the green one, the neon green, this part is high intensity residential zone. The light brown, medium intensity commercial zone. This dark brown, high intensity commercial zone. The blue one is institutional zone. And this part, the neon green, parks and recreational zone. The light violet light intensity industrial zone, the dark violet medium intensity industrial zone, the gray transportation and utilities zone, then dark brown cultural zone, and then the gray ones na parang may straight line are area for priority development. So the city of Manila used polycentric urban planning. So which they applied polycentric urban planning means they want to have many small centers or hubs access to the city instead of just one big center. So it helps spread of jobs, services for better living. So example are Makati, Central Business District yan sa Manila. This Bonifacio Global City, the modern skyscraper, shopping center, and entertainment. The Quezon City, which is the commercial and residential hub. The intramurals, then the last one is the University Belt near in University of Santo Tomas. Manila also have sustainable development goals. So they have 10. The engage everyone, empower people, be prepared, restore human dignity, go beyond smart communities, create one Metro Manila, improve urban mobility, make beautiful places, work together, establish good governance. So this sustainable development goals all about to develop, transform their city, integrate transportation and infrastructure, to improvement of business districts, and to have a high quality public space. So it talks about development for the improvement of Metro Manila. Next is the social and economic dimensions of urban areas in the third world cities. So the third world cities are defined by high population growth rates. That's why makikita nyo dyan sa statistic, particularly in developing countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America has a population growth. So 90% of population growth is happening in third world or developing countries than developed countries of the third world. So the richest 10% of world's population collectively earns 50% of the total global income. In stark contrast, the poorest half of the global population, which represent a large portion of people, earns only 8% of the income. So there's a job creation and income inequality. So job creation at third world cities are stimulate economic development, but an income inequality can be a major challenge and lead to the social unrest. So here is the social and economic dimension of Manila. So the population growth rate of Manila become higher and higher from 1990 to 2020. So from the 1990, kunti pa lang ang population, then tumaas from to 2020. So the population growth rate of the city of Manila from the period of 2015 to 2020 is 0.77%. So what is the economic activities in Manila? The diverse manufacturing activities of Manila include textile, production, publishing and printing, food and tobacco processing, and chemical processing. Manila also produces lumber, wood items, rope, cartage, soap, and other goods. So, in Philippines, there is severe income inequality in the Philippines. So, 8 of 10 Filipino families earn below 30,000 monthly. Chiefly executive officer of companies earn hundreds or thousands of times more monthly. So imagine, mga mayayaman, mas maraming pera. At ang mga Filipino families ay kumikita lang ng 3,000 a month. In Manila, most employed persons are engaged in production and related types of work in transport equipment, operation, services, and sales. That's why, in conclusion, Manila is very crowded because many people from countryside move there. So this made hard to provide good services and making life in the city not so great. That's why in Manila can be exciting and full of opportunities for some, but for others may struggle with the city's changes. It brings traffic, congestion, housing challenges, and environmental issues. Next is urban governance and politics. So this is the structure of local government in Manila, the challenges and the urban policy making they made. Okay, so the challenges in urban governance is traffic congestion. Sino naman traffic talaga, lalo na sa EDSA. Then informal settlements, as we know that Manila has a lot of informal settlers. Then flood and disaster, air pollution, waste management, lalo na sa Manila Bay noon, kaya rami ng mga basura at dumi. Then next is equity and poverty, urban planning, traffic accidents, informal economy, and overpopulation. So what are the policies that made in local government unit in Manila? First is the accessibility across all social classes, the open green spaces for healthy and sustainable living environment. That's why they have a lot of green spaces in Manila, like BGC. Second is enhancing human health and well-being. Next is resilient community. And lastly, when it comes to housing project, the housing project of Isko Moreno in Manila. So this Isko Moreno Pabahay project is for poor Filipino, especially Filipino who are living in slums, like in Tondo, Manila. As he said, he will end it. But we don't know. Matutubad ba ang kanyang pangarap at hopefully mabawasan lang man ang mga bahay na nasa slums area. And then let's go on about environmental issue in third world. So the current state of urban environment issue in third world cities are air pollution, water contamination, waste management. So air pollution, due to increased industrial activities and vehicles emission, the air quality in these cities is deteriorating rapidly. Then water contamination, since poor sanitation infrastructure and improper waste disposal methods have led to the contamination of water resources. Kaya kuntay na lang ating water resources ngayon, mga water na maiinom. So let's protect our environment para sa susunod na henerasyon may magagamit pa sila. Next is waste management. So limited resources and ineffective waste management system contribute to the accumulation of waste in the streets and open areas. Kaya marami tayong makikita, lalo na sa Bangladesh, India, di ba? Kay rami ng mga basura doon. Pati din sa Pilipinas, of course. So what are the causes of environmental problems in urban areas? So first is rapid urbanization. The fast pace of urban growth leads to increased demands for resources and infrastructure, often resulting in unsustainable practices. Then, second is poverty, lack of economic opportunities and limited access to basic services force people to adopt environmentally harmful practices. Then, Inadequate planning, inefficient urban planning, and weak governance contribute the mismanagement of resources and environmental degradation. So hopefully, sa susunod na mga Pangulo, they will implement planning about environment dahil alam naman natin environment is very important for us. So paano na lang kung masira ang ating environment, right? And happily, ang ibang bansa, mga urban areas ay gumawa ng paraan. They build urban spaces and urban park in their area. So, they have urban greening. They create parks, rooftop gardens, and urban forests not only improves air quality but also enhance the aesthetic value of cities. Diba? Lalo na sa Singapore, marami tayong makikita nito. That's why Singapore known as the world greenest cities. So they have Bukit Timah Nature Reserve, the Botanic Gardens, and the newer gardens by the bay. So marami silang mga urban green spaces. So, the cost of this pollution in India is air and water pollution, food and water shortage, waste management, and biodiversity loss. So, India government they have policies about expanding renewable energy. They promote electric vehicles and supplying LPG cooking fuels to millions of households are some examples of the action in India to combat air pollution. So India implement this to improve air quality, protect public health, mitigate climate change, security, and promote sustainable economic development. Globalization and global cities. So globalization is multifaceted process characterized by increased international trade, investment, and the spread of modern technologies, leading to closer connection between economy, society, and culture worldwide. So this process involved breaking down barriers to the movement of people, goods, and services, not just goods and services, but also ideas and technology across borders, unlimitedly aiming to reduce political and geographical distance through technological advancements. So the impact of globalization has been positive and negative impacts on the third world countries. The positive sides, it can lead to economic growth, job creation, technological transfer, and improve about information and culture. However, it also brings challenges like income inequality, environmental degrading, cultural homogenization, and social disruption. So, global cities belongs to Asia is Tokyo, Beijing, Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, and Seoul. And lastly, the future trends and urban geographies. Maybe soon there will be technological advances in urban areas like their satellite, Internet of Things, smart mobility solution, green architecture, data analytic, and would be sustainable urban futures like efficient public transportation, urban farming, green architecture, water conservation and waste management, public green spaces, walkable and bikeable neighborhoods. So this would be the future trends in urban areas, and hopefully yung Philippines masali dito. So this picture shows the future trends in urban areas, and hopefully the developing countries will also have this. That's all for today. Thank you.